Hi, I'm Jill Rutt from June Taylor. Did you ever want to sew a quilt but got a little intimidated by the process? Well, we've made it as easy as 1, 2, 3 with our Quilt As You Go cotton batting. And as you can see, the batting actually has the design numbered on it. We tell you exactly how to cut the pieces and you simply sew them together according to the numbers. There are some beautiful designs out of the cotton batting, such as this one, Paris on Point, which utilizes pre-cuts, or the very easy one-piece strip quilt called Sophisticated Strips, or over here, using 2.5-inch strips, our London Labyrinth design. Let me show you how Quilt As You Go on cotton batting works. When you open your package of Quilt As You Go, if you're using Paris on Point or London Labyrinth, you're going to have to cut your blocks apart into 6 individual blocks. You want to cut 1 inch from the border of each block. If you're using Sophisticated Strips, it's an all-in-one piece, so just leave it as is. When your block is cut apart, it will look like this. The next step is you are going to cut your fabrics according to the directions that come with the product. If you're using pre-cuts, just go ahead and gather those, your 5-inch squares, your 10-inch squares, and your 2.5-inch strips. And you may need to subcut the 10-inch squares and the 2.5-inch strips. Follow the directions on exactly how to subcut, and then starch them all. Before we do any piecing, everything needs to be starched so that it lays nice and flat. We're not able to press on our cotton batting because it distorts a little bit, so what we want is to get everything starched so that we can finger press as we go, and then when the block is complete, then we can go ahead and press right on it. After all your pieces have been cut and starched, we're going to cut our backing, our quilt backing, and that'll be a 16 by 16 inch piece of backing. You can use white or you can use your regular quilting fabrics. From there, you're going to turn your block over and use quilt basting spray on here to attach the backing to the block front. So you're just going to center that along here and attach that. Your next step is you're going to find piece number 1, which is this one, lay it on here like so, and find piece number 2, which is our rectangle, right sides together like this, and you're going to pin it in place and sew in a 1/4-inch seam allowance all the way down here. Once we do that, which I have done in advance, that looks like this. So I'll just flip this back over so you can see I've sewn in a 1/4 inch, flip that over to the 2 mark, and then take your finger and finger press along here. Since these are nicely starched, you should get a very flat seam. Find piece 3, which is the other rectangle, right sides together on our square, sew in a 1/4-inch seam allowance. That results in this. You can see my block beginning to come together. Sewn in a 1/4, flipped it open and finger pressed it. I find piece 4, which is another longer rectangle, right sides together, pin in place, sew in a 1/4-inch seam allowance. And that will result in my block now really coming together in the center looking like this. Again, I've done my sewing, open, finger press, and now I'll do my 5th rectangle along here and sew that in a 1/4-inch and flip it open. And you can see the center of our block is really coming together. The instructions will then tell you to take that 10-inch square and cut it in half diagonally twice so that you get 4 triangles. So what we're going to do is find our piece number 6, which is right here, and put our triangle on there. Sew in a 1/4 inch and flip that open, and that's what this looks like right here. This is all very, very quick and easy. So we did our sewing in a 1/4 inch. You can see that those corners are hanging off a little bit. That's supposed to be the way it is. Flip it open, finger press it open, take our 7 right sides together and sew on here. Now I've got my 2 outside corners sewn. I'm going to go to 8 right sides together, sew that, And I've got one more to go here. So here is my block. Number 9 is the only piece left. Right sides together, sew in a 1/4 inch and flip that open. And you can see now with my last step here, my block is really completely done. And with all the stitching I've done, it's quilted on the front and it is also quilted on the back. It's perfectly good to put it in my quilt like this, or if you'd like to do some additional quilting, decorative sewing, stippling, meandering, echo quilting, now is the time to do it. And the fun thing is you're only working with this 16 by 16 inch piece. So it's very easy to move this piece under your bed plate versus working on an entire quilt. So if you want to leave it like this, fine. Otherwise, go ahead and add more decorative stitching to it. Now that my block is quilted, I need to trim it to 12.5 inches. So get your favorite 12.5 inch square ruler. We love the Get Squared because there's so many reference points that we can really get this nice and straight. This one has white backing on so you can see what the ruler looks like. This is how you would actually use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the points of my center square side to side and then top to bottom to really get this square. And when I have that done, then I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to mark all 4 sides like this. After I mark all 4 sides, we're actually going to sew just inside that marking line, and then we're going to trim off at the marking line. So sew just inside, trim off at the marking line. So you can see my line is right here, so just inside but trim at the marking line. And that will get our block looking like this. So it's kind of secured together as a mini quilt at this point. The next step is to join our blocks. The instruction will tell us that for each 2 blocks we join, you're going to need to cut 1 strip that's 1 inch by 13 inches and 1 strip that's 1 3/4 by 13 inches. We're going to take this strip, press it wrong sides together, so that will look like this. Here's my strip wrong sides together. Now we're going to take our 1 inch strip and we're going to put it right sides together on the top of our block, and we're going to take our press strip and put the raw edge on the back of the block, and we're going to sew through all thicknesses, our 1 inch strip, our quilt block, and our pressed 1 3/4 inch strip. We're going to sew in a 1/4 inch seam allowance after we pin all the way down. This is creating our sashing on the front, and it's going to also finish off the back of our quilt. So we'll pin and sew in a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once that's done, here is what we will have. So here is that top 1 inch strip, and then here's my pressed strip. And eventually this will all go into our sashing and we'll be able to finish off the back of our quilt with the pressed strip. Now that this block is done, we'll take the next block and right sides together we will sew the 1 inch strip raw edge to our next block in a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So essentially what I'm going to do is pin this into place and sew right along here. Now you want to make sure that you do not catch the pressed back strip. So just the block and the 1 inch raw edge right sides together sewn down, and I'll show you what that will yield. So that gets pinned into place, sewn a 1/4 inch. When you flip that open, this is what it will look like. This is what your front will look like. You've actually sewn these 2 blocks together, and let me show you now what it looks like on the back. There's that pressed strip. That will eventually get folded over our seam allowance and either tacked into place, or we'll just put a little fusible in here to hold it in place when we press it down. So our back will be finished, and obviously our front is nicely sashed. Now that our blocks are joined together, we're going to actually join our rows. So in order to do that, you're going to cut a strip 1 inch wide, 26 inches long, and cut another strip 1 3/4 inch wide by 26 long.
fold it in half, wrong sides together, and press. Then we're going to take the single strip, our 1-inch strip, right sides together on the edge of our row, and our folded strip with the raw edge meeting up with the raw edge of our row, our block of 2 blocks of making our row, and that single fabric strip, and we're going to sew in 1/4 of an inch all the way down. Now I've got that done here, and that's what this looks like. So again, here is our single strip and our folded strip with the raw edge facing, all our raw edges facing together. Then you're going to take your next row of 2 blocks, and right sides together, we're going to sew that single strip, the unfolded one, 1/4 of an inch, right sides together on our next row. So here to here in 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That is then going to join our rows. And we're going to continue on until all our rows are joined. And what that will look like is having our finished quilt. So as you know, we first join the block to block, then we join this row to this row. And again, our front is completely finished off when we get done sewing. And then on the back, we are able to simply take that folded edge and either whip stitch it into place, or we can use fusible to hold it down. Our quilt is finished beautifully on the back, as it is, of course, on the front. This is our London Labyrinth design, and it's completely composed of 2.5-inch strips. So it's perfect for jelly rolls or to use up all your scraps in your stash. Again, our batting is pre-printed. It starts out with 6 blocks per sheet of batting. You need to cut them apart so that you're working with individual blocks such as these. When these blocks are completed, then you go ahead and join them. What we love about this design, as you can see here, is depending on how you actually turn the blocks within the quilt, you can get several different looks. So it's really a fun block. And then you can put dark on one side and light on the other, or mix it up like we've done here. So lots of variety with the London Labyrinth design. This is our one-piece sophisticated strips design printed on cotton batting. So you don't cut this apart when you begin. All your strips are sewn right on this piece for a completed 40 by 50-inch quilt. So let's take a look at how it looks finished. It's comprised of 7 10-inch strips that are sewn together down the middle, and then 8 5-inch strips that are sewn in the upper corner and the bottom corner. You sew 14 seams and you have this quilt done, and then all you need to do is add your binding. It's beautiful out of cottons, but we also love it made out of plush velour. It's such a fun look, cozy quilt, and so easy to make this one-piece overall design. Again, this is sophisticated strips. Quilt As You Go using pre-printed cotton batting is quick and easy. The 3 designs that we have right now are called Paris on Point, as you see here, our London Labyrinth, and our sophisticated strips out of either cotton or plush velour. We can't wait to see what you're going to make.